After an incredible few days in London, it was time to head to the next country on our tour, Germany.
It's a little after 5 o'clock in the morning. I got less than an hour of sleep last night, and now we're going to Germany. Right, Johnny?
Sie. That's Spanish.
We're tired.
Germany has been one of the top places I have wanted to visit for over a decade. And while I wouldn't be able to truly experience it fully, I had no idea how incredible the next 2 days were about to be. It started with leaving at 5:30 in the morning to head to London Heathrow and travel to Munich. Of course, the jet lag continued to set in and I got a total of 1 hour of sleep. It's fine, sleep is for the weak, and those who wish to remain sane. When we landed, once again we had to head straight to the stadium, the home of FC Bayern. An absolutely beautiful stadium that we couldn't wait to get inside of, because our Uber dropped us off on the other side of the complex, and it was pouring rain. It was a time.
Well, we made it to Munich. It's a little rainy. We made it to the stadium, but it's rainy. Very, very rainy.
We were greeted by Patina and Peter, whose kindness was truly and deeply appreciated. They welcomed us with open arms, and for the next 3 hours, I would not only learn about how the NFL operated here, but also just how special European football is to this community and its fans. After drying off, I was presented with a signed Harry Kane jersey. It was a stunning act of kindness and one that I couldn't be more grateful for. Because while my knowledge of European football is far from being an expert, it was not lost on me how special this would be for a fan of FC Bayern. It was my first soccer jersey since I used to play as a teenager, so this meant a lot to me. And so at the moment, it became very clear. I needed to learn more about European football. And starting here in Munich and continuing with Frankfurt, I did just that. Walking through the stadium, it was very clear whose stadium this was. It belonged to the fans. The seats, the colors, everything was designed with the fans in mind.
Servus in München.
You see, FC Bayern has had some success over the years. Later, I would get a chance to tour their expansive museum, and I saw that they had won 3 championships in a row a few decades ago. Thinking about the NFL, I was obviously impressed and asked Alex, our tour guide, if they ever repeated that success. It was then when we went around the corner and I saw that they had won 11 in a row. So yeah, they're pretty good. Also, that museum is insane. And after visiting London, I had to ask if there was the same policy regarding alcohol not being allowed in the bowl. Their reply, this is Germany. So that answered that. To get ready for NFL games, the sidelines here needed to be expanded, and thankfully the stadium just meets the regulations in terms of length to be able to fit an NFL game. And thankfully this year, the NFL is returning to Munich and will feature the Panthers and the Giants. I already apologized. But just like in London, regardless of who is playing, the passion and enthusiasm remains insanely high. On game day, you will see the stadium filled with fans from every team, because as the NFL has become more accessible in Germany, its popularity has only grown. After the tour, it was time to race to the hotel for a few minutes and then straight to the fan event. As we drove into Munich, I was legitimately stunned on how freaking beautiful this city was. While I didn't have time to explore the city, I immediately said to myself, I need to come back here. But for now, it was time for the fan event. And that was insane. Given that Germany had 2 fan events, one in each city, I figured that might have an impact on the amount of people that came out. I was very, very wrong. After London set a record for the longest fan event, Munich absolutely smashed it. It was a 6-hour and 28-minute fan event. People drove over 6 hours to be there, and I didn't leave until I talked to every single person, just like every other fan event. It was my first time in Germany, but the welcome I received, it felt like seeing old friends.
I enjoy catching up with content. I think that the landscape's changed so much. You see it with Pat McAfee, you see it with other creators like Brandon and Tom, just giving their spin on it, being available, Friday Q&A, massive, just put it on, just have it on, maybe play some Madden on the side, just enjoy interacting about the game. It doesn't have to be big news, it can just be the vibes.
Shout out to Brent Körner. I think he's a very nice guy, but I rather see him suffering.
You don't get the local news and what's under the rug over here, so that's helping a lot. So
Yeah.
And it's also, Tom is pretty fair about the Packers, so it's not unbearable to watch him like other creators that are very focused on their team.
I really enjoyed watching Saquon Barkley. Normally I would rock his shirt today. Didn't do that for personal reasons, thank you. But apart from that,
I have to get up early on Monday, but for me that's fine. I just have an office job, so I can roll in by 9, so that's fine.
It's kind of hard to see the variety of NFL media, and I just think it helps with the comedic aspect, and you can connect easier to the game.
All games are free in Germany, so when there's an exciting game that he covers and streams, I'm just put on that game and enjoy the community.
I know you want the games in the USA, but it's growing, and it's growing massive in Europe, in South America as well. So come visit us, come watch the games, and yeah, let's make this a full-on international experience.
And if you thought that London fans stayed up late to watch games, Germany is another hour ahead, so primetime games start around 2 o'clock in the morning here. But of course, we weren't just there to celebrate these awesome fans. There was something else I needed to do, because we hit $40,000 raised for St. Jude. So it was time for Das Boot. Which is not really a thing that Germans do, I found out. It's more of an American thing and, you know, from the movie. I asked the staff and their solution was this absolute monstrosity. Over 3 liters, 6 pints in a single glass that had to be finished by the end of the night. And considering at that point I hadn't eaten anything that day, I knew it was gonna be an experience. And the waiter was just so kind to make sure it was fresh by adding more. Thanks. Fans offered to help, but this was my cross to bear. And fans did drink 6 pints by themselves to follow along because Bavarians are just built differently. And after 6 hours, I finished a very, very warm beer. It was a wild night filled with cheers, laughter, and a whole lot of chaotic good. And then it was time to do the same thing the next day.
I'm never drinking again.
After a few hours of sleep, it was time to hop on a plane to Frankfurt. This felt exactly like 30 and 30, a new city each day, a new stadium, and a new fan event. But while we were lucky during 30 and 30 to have very minimal delays, we weren't so lucky this time. Thunderstorms grounded us for a few hours, but eventually we were underway and arrived at this absolutely beautiful stadium that was tucked away and surrounded by a beautiful forest. Which makes sense because its old name used to literally mean the Forest Stadium. We met Patrick and Cornelia, and just like the day prior, it was such a warm welcome, and I was even presented with another German kit, which I was more than happy to wear as we toured this fantastic stadium. This stadium actually went viral a couple years ago when a time-lapse video of the roof and cube was shared online, and to say that this stadium was stunning would be an understatement. This stadium has hosted World Cup games, where the stadium was split 50-50 with fans from both clubs, instead of the standard 10% which is allowed for opposing fans. They've hosted Rammstein, Iron Maiden concerts, and even Patrick, our tour guide, has played in this stadium with the Grand Jam. A huge band playing stadium hymns, and honestly, it's just pretty cool to see. So if you have a second, check them out. It was also the home of the final World Bowl from the old NFL European League, which still has a lasting presence here with the Frankfurt Galaxy. After the league was shut down, the Galaxy actually became the Frankfurt Universe for a little while, until a new league was eventually created and ushered in a new era for the Frankfurt Galaxy, who has an incredibly passionate fan base to this day. In fact, during the fan event, the Galaxy were kind enough to actually come, and their GM presented me with a beautiful jersey. I guess not all purple teams are bad. It was during the tour that I also realized one of the major reasons the Packers have a huge fan base here in Germany is because, like many clubs in Europe, there are no owners. Sure, there's presidents, but these teams are owned by the people. Score another one for the green and gold.
Go, Pat, go!
After the tour, it was time for the next fan event. Had I eaten? No. Was my voice completely gone? Yes. and you saw that already when I tried to record the London video. But that was okay, because just like Munich, this fan event brought all the noise. Even with a Champions League final to be played and the event being held outside, that didn't deter a ton of fans coming out. Some from even 9 hours away showed up and celebrated a game that is played an ocean away.
Well, I'd say our dedication might be a little, I wouldn't say stronger, but maybe as much as back then.
You can say stronger.
We'll say stronger because, you know, the guys over there, they can watch the games to normal hours, and I have to stay up all night to watch the games.
Right.
And I do not care. It's just what I do.
I mean, it starts at 7 p.m. for us, and it goes until like 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
So you don't have any options. You gotta commit, right?
It's inspiring to see people like Tom. He isn't also living in Green Bay, so he gives his very best to connect people and connect himself with the community, and that's a big thing which inspires us in Germany to create a big fan club and connect each other.
The fan event went until midnight, and I met some incredible people, drank some great beer, not 6 pints, and even got to try the very famous apple wine. Very good, by the way. Germany was filled with some of the most passionate fans I had ever met. Running on 3 hours of sleep to watch NFL primetime games before heading to work and supporting their favorite teams, even when they didn't have access to them. It was 2 days of memories that I will never forget. And I'd be lying if I didn't get choked up from the non-stop support and love from these fans. For example, I was asked to sign a football for the purpose of auctioning it off at this fan event, just like 30 and 30. And Richard donated $1,500 directly to St. Jude to win it. His quote as to why, it's for the frickin' frackin' kids. If that ain't chaotic good, I don't know what is.
Another one, just about 6 hours. Germany's been crazy. I haven't eaten in over 24 hours, but damn, look how pretty this is.
Both Munich and Frankfurt were magical places, and I can say with absolute certainty, while it was my first time there, it won't be the last. But remember when I said there was a Champions League final going on? It just so happened that the next day I'd be in the very city of the team that won, Madrid.